I just didn't want you to be on her recording at the end. It's no big deal. So, but there we go.
Thanks.
Susan, Michelle, this mic is all yours.
Hi, this is Susan Michel. I am here in Western Massachusetts with my good friend Myrna Scholar from Florida. And we are both authors. I'm a one-time author. Myrna is a 6-time author. My book is Surrender to Joy: From Suicide to Serenity, based on the principles of A Course in Miracles, which Myrna and I have both been studying for about 33 years. And then I have Myrna's book right here, which is totally amazing. This is Private Lessons with Jesus, again, from A Course in Miracles, which I love, love, love. How are you doing today, Myrna?
Oh, great. Really good. Just came off a lovely weekend. Weather was beautiful. In fact, it just started thundering right now and raining right here. We've gotten a lot of rain in Florida. I don't know how it is with you in Western Massachusetts, but we've had a rainy, rainy summer. But
yeah, we had a spell of hot, humid weather, and then that broke. So this weekend, my husband and I were out on our boat, and it was just so fabulous. Today, we got some rain. So it's all good, as our other good friend Sherry always says, it's all good, whether the weather is perfect or not. Today, I think what I'm going to do is start out with one of my favorite paragraphs here, as I do much of the time. And this is on page 28 of the text. And this is my way, our way of giving our talk over to Christ consciousness, so Christ can really channel his wisdom through us. I just love when I'm here with Myrna, because she always helps me to really embody these truths. And my vibration is so much greater after our talk than before I started. So here in chapter 2 on page 28, Jesus writes, I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. And really, that paragraph says so much. Myrna mentioned prior to our talk today that, whenever you go into any paragraph in A Course in Miracles, they all bring you home to heaven. They all bring you back to your center. So, like for me, it's about intellectually affirming it. And then as I really start to think about the meaning of the words, and I incorporate the truth into my center, then I can feel myself plugging myself into my God socket and feeling the passion and peace of our Creator. Right, Myrna?
yes, yeah, that we were talking earlier about the Course in Miracles, and I was saying I really get very involved in the lessons. And you said, well, I get involved in the text. And we agreed that it's really all the same, isn't it? I mean, whatever affirmation, whatever sentence you're picking up, whether it be from the lessons or from the text, the teacher's manual, it all gives you a recognition of where you are, or who you are, actually who you are, with a capital who, WHO.
Right.
Yes, not the small who, but the who that is connected to the spirit of God. And every line in A Course in Miracles brings us to that, if we're willing to accept it. You know, it's one thing to pick up the book and say, you know, it really doesn't mean anything to me. It's too dry. It's too full of religious terms or whatever they find that they're not ready to accept. So that's well and good too. I think that you and I are both so fortunate that we've had this beautiful study. It's a study course. That's really what it is. Not going to change you, but it will give you the means to change. And if you don't change, nothing ever changes. I think Winston Churchill said that. If you never change your mind, nothing ever changes.
Right, right. I like that 12-step quote. It says, it works if you work it, so work it, you're worth it. You know, the Course in Miracles works if you work it. So to work it is most definitely worth it, because the transformative effect is just amazing. It's like there's no better high than the high of being connected to God, being plugged into our God socket. You know, I was talking on Friday, I think, about, I mean, we always have a choice at each and every moment about where we are going to put our attention. It's either the Holy Spirit or the ego. It's either love or fear. The world is so dominated by fear. And so it's easy to get pulled into that thought system. It's just when we are thinking fearful thoughts, when we're thinking negative thoughts, when we are kind of absorbed into the illusion, we've blocked God's love. So we can't hear what God is saying to us. You know, that's why certain daily disciplines are so essential. You know, on the page after the paragraph that I just read, Jesus writes about fear, and I have a couple of sentences highlighted. I'm looking on page 29 of the text now. He writes, whenever you are afraid, it is a sure sign that you have allowed your mind to miscreate and have not allowed me to guide it. So whenever we're not at peace, whenever we're feeling fearful, we have blocked God's guidance and God's love. And then the next sentence that I have highlighted, which is really interesting, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Myrna. Jesus writes, the correction of fear is your responsibility, meaning our responsibility. When you ask for release from fear, you are implying that it is not our responsibility. So if I ask Christ to release me from fear, I'm kind of, I believe, asking him to do something that's not his responsibility. It's my responsibility. And then Jesus writes, you should ask instead for help in the conditions that have brought the fear about. These conditions always entail a willingness to be separate. At that level, you can help it. You are much too tolerant of mind wandering. So we're fearful because we think that we're separate. We think that we're apart from God. I mean, Course in Miracles says very clearly that we did not create ourselves. God created us. We are never separate. But when we are fearful, we feel like we're alone. We feel like God is not there for us. And then he also says at the end of this paragraph that I just read, we are much too tolerant of mind wandering, talking about how mental discipline is so essential. So if I'm praying to God, or dear God, please help me to release the fear, I guess God can't even really see the fear because the fear is an illusion. God can only see the love and the beauty and the joy. So it's our responsibility to release the illusion and reconnect to our natural state so God's voice can get through to us. I mean, how does that make sense to you, Myrna?
It does. You just said it all, that it is our responsibility because God doesn't know what fear is. We're feeling fear, but how can he extricate us from the fear if we're going to be something that we're not? And what we're not is really illusion. And that's why this today's lesson, I am not a body, I am free. This lesson has been going on for 2 weeks already. The paragraph of each lesson, the heading of each lesson over the last couple of weeks, I believe, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. And today, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. And then the subtitle of this one is, I am not a body, I am free. So obviously, Jesus wants us to get that phrase and get it good. I am not a body, I am free. So if we equate ourselves strictly with the body and don't allow ourselves to go beyond that, if we let our thoughts, we let the ego monopolize our thoughts, which is our thoughts live in the body, the ego lives in the body. And the body is an illusion, then we're using the body really as body is a puppet. It's really not real. It's an illusion, and it's only does what the mind directs it to do. So whatever the mind directs, or not the mind, the ego. The ego is a part of the mind, but not the greater part of the mind. The greater part of the mind is the mind that we were created from, and that we can think with if we allow ourselves to do that. And when we allow ourselves so much mind wandering, as you put it, then we don't give ourselves the opportunity to get out of the ego thought system, and we are now completely engulfed in it. So it really does take discipline. And when we recognize that we're allowing too much of the chattering to go on without putting a stop to it, it becomes a habit. And the ego is in all its glory, because here it's getting here to do exactly what it wants. Come into my playground. Look at all the things I can offer you here. Look at all the happiness there is here. Isn't that wonderful? You can get this, you can get that, you can have this, you can go there. And it's on and on and on. And we think that that's what happiness is. But then we see that that's not really happiness, because it's not lasting. So where is our true happiness? The true happiness comes from the part of us that is inherently of God. We are entitled to the gifts that God gives us because we are a part of God. And the gifts that God gives us is the truth that there's nothing to fear, that there is no such thing as fear. The ego has invented fear, and there are so many different aspects of fear that the ego gets into that it sort of plays us. When we think we've cured one aspect of fear, it shows up in some place, in another part, in another situation. Whether we attack, whether we're sad, whether we are depressed about something, and we wallow in those feelings, then there's no release from that, unless now we do release ourselves, which is our responsibility, and that is to go into the greater thought system of who we are.
Very well said, Myrna. Very well said. Yeah, so today's lesson is lesson 219. And as you mentioned, all of these review lessons are telling us that we are not a body. It's really interesting, because I guess I've always been very I've always felt that my appearance was very important to me, and I understand how it started, when I was very young. I was really insecure. I was bullied. I had a difficult home life, and then all of a sudden I started to get taller, and I became an attractive young woman. And I think at that point, years ago, it's just my appearance became sometimes a little too important to me. And when I am relying on my external appearance for anything at all that is not of God, that's of the ego, because it comes from insecurities. So these lessons are really good for me, because then when I go into my meditation, I feel myself being kind of lifted out of my body, because the body is just transient. The body is temporary. Anything that is not permanent is not of God. Another thing I've been experiencing lately is I've been experiencing a lot of body challenges, if I think over the past couple months. And, at one time a few weeks ago, I got a big sty on my eye, then I got poison ivy. And then as I say kind of often now, my tooth is out for a couple of months. And I wonder if everything in life is a lesson or a blessing. I wonder if somehow God is just telling me, well, it doesn't matter because the body is not who you are, so maybe that's part of the lessons that I'm learning. And then today's lesson says, I am not a body, I am free. So the introduction today to today's lesson is telling us that we're not a body. The lesson today is a review of lesson 199. It's telling us that we're not a body. And then I'll read the couple sentences here in the middle. Jesus writes, I am God's son. Be still my mind and think a moment upon this, and then return to earth without confusion as to what my Father loves forever as his son. So to really just embody the truth with a capital T, that the body is not who we are. We are God's son. And when we can still our mind and release those egoic thoughts, release those insecurities, and remember the truth of who and what we are, we will feel the peace of God. And that's how God wants us to be. He wants us to trust him, to feel his peace, because that is what is going to enable him to use us as a miracle worker. We cannot be conduits for God's love until we just fully accept the fact that we are loved, and until we release our insecurities, release our fear, and trust in he who created us. I mean, God also tells us there is no sacrifice, but it's just important, I believe, to release our insecurities, release our fear, and to trust that God is always with us. We are never separate. We are never alone, and God has our back, or however you want to phrase it. He's always there. And wherever we are, it's the perfect place for us to be, because there is no time other than the present, which is something else that we were talking about today. The present time is the only time there is. And right here, right now, everything is fine. Everything is good. God is with us. We are never, ever alone.
Yes. Yeah, what you just said, it's the whole Course in Miracles, the knowing that we're not alone. And once we really embody that truth, that we're not alone, then what is there to be fearful of? You mentioned before, that the vanity of the body, really, how well, I think we women are all the same. Yes, I am also adorning the body with all kinds of stuff that the body seems to, illuminate. That's who I am. I want to look pretty, and I want to, wear pretty clothes and all that. And that's okay, as long as we don't get carried away with any thought that will make us unhappy. You had a star. Yes, as long as you can realize that it'll go away. Don't overlook it. Don't over exemplify it. You know what I mean? Just know that whatever happens, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, it'll all be cleared up anyway. So why go through the unhappiness if there's no need to? And that's the ego, really. The ego, will say, you look terrible today. Why don't you just walk around with a paper bag over your head? You'd be a lot better off that way. That's the ego. And so I've come a long way with that also. I really don't. I walk away from the mirror, and that's it. Once I walk away from it, then I'm not going to keep keep belaboring that process of going back and constantly worrying about how I look. So that too has taken practice. It's also my knowledge, my learning about what is really the Course in Miracles message to us that we need to really learn. And once I can know completely that now I'm learning the lessons, and I'm now applying the lessons that I'm supposed to be learning. I'm supposed to be learning. What am I supposed to be learning? Well, I've come a long way from unlearning that I suffered so many years ago, the unlearning of who I really was. And it was really was applying more was giving us more awareness of something that is not there, the body, or years ago, I think that's all I really was a body. And according to the Course in Miracles, bodies really only bodies attack. The mind doesn't attack. It's just the body that attacks. So by not giving the body or the ego that much credence, I found that I've healed in so many ways. I'm so much more at peace. I can say that I'm completely at peace, except for those moments that I may get away from my peace. But the idea is to see it and to recognize it and to move back into it and to see that you didn't commit a sin, whatever you did that might have been ego-based, it's not a sin, it's a mistake. And we forget, the mind conveniently forgets, the ego mind forgets that we're supposed to be at peace, and it keeps us completely involved in its own agenda. And so it's a matter of just letting go, and it takes practice.
To really recognize, who and what we are, we need to connect to our innocence. I mean, that is essential. I mean, that is an attribute of the Holy Spirit, and it's so important. That's why, in my morning meditations, I start out with the lesson of the day. I always go into acceptance, accepting everything in my life exactly as it is. Forgiveness, which is forgiving my brothers completely. And ultimately, what that's about is forgiving myself, because when I can forgive myself for any mistakes I've made along the way in this lifetime, that's how I reconnect to my true self, through forgiveness and my innocence. Because to feel our own innocence is essential. And then the last step is gratitude. gratitude. We can't be grateful for everything that life is offering us or God is offering us until we can connect with that state of innocence. You know, I was listening yesterday to a Christian seminar. A friend of mine came over, and I think she could not get the channel on her home TV. So we were spending the day together, and she asked if she could watch the church service on my TV. And I said that was fine. And I was listening to what the pastor said. I mean, there are a lot of commonalities between traditional Christianity and Course in Miracles. However, there are a few foundational differences that are pretty profound. And one is that most traditional Christian churches come from the place of us being sinners, where Course in Miracles comes from the exact opposite place, saying that we are innocent and sin is an illusion. And for me, you know, I can only feel the peace, love, joy, and happiness of who I am when I can connect with my innocence. Because to really, I guess, focus on the mistakes or the sins that I have made or that someone else has made keeps me away from God, keeps me unplugged from my God socket. But when I can really just forgive myself completely and connect with my innocence, that's the only way I can feel God. You know, when I get these downloads during meditation, I got a download the other morning, you have done nothing wrong. Because I think, I don't know, the world teaches everyone, we kind of all beat ourselves up. We're all very self-critical, but none of this is of God. That's all like ego dynamics. You know, when we're connected to our God self, we just feel our own innocence. And the only way I can connect with gratitude is to embody my innocent state of mind first. That's the only way I can connect with gratitude. And grateful is a really fast way. Connecting with my gratitude is a really fast way to get into heaven, which Course in Miracles says heaven is not a state that you go into after you die. Heaven is a state that you can connect to right here when you are in this earthly classroom. We can connect to that state of heaven right here, right now.
Yes, yes, yes. It's sin. There is no sin. You know, one of my favorite lessons of A Course in Miracles is lesson number 93. I always love that lesson because that was so impactful for me. It really jolted me, you know, into a reality that I needed to be in. And it released me from all my guilt because, you know, the first sentence, you think you are the home of evil, darkness, and sin. You think if anyone could see the truth about you, he'd be repelled, recoiling from you as if from a poisonous snake. I mean, what could be more, you know, to the point than that? And then the lesson goes on to soften the blow by telling us, child of God, you have done nothing wrong. Yes, you have sought, you know, you have looked in strange places for salvation, you know, for healing. But that's really, you know, again, telling us that, yes, we've sought the ways of the ego in order to heal, because when we're in the ego's thought system and you don't know there's another way out of it, you know, and that's why the Course in Miracles is such an inspiring and important part of, I think, anybody who's willing to accept what the Course in Miracles is telling us will heal. If you're willing to accept it and you're willing to now know that it's all truth. And this is what you have to do in order to heal. And then all we really did was forget how we were supposed to heal. We knew it. There was a time we knew it, but in our bodies, we don't know it. And we are confused, and we are hit from pillar to post. We don't really know which way is the right way, which is the wrong way. But there's only one way that's the right way, and that is the way of accepting what is within us to give, that's unchanged, that's changeless, that's unalterable, that's true for eternity. And what a difference. Here we're accepting the littleness of the ego and all its little daunting little things, situations, ideas that cause us to lose our peace, when we can really have peace, which is an eternal gift from God. Really, we've always had it, and we can come back to it. But it's knowing that we are given the tools to excel in the truth of who we are, to lavish in that part of us, lavishing in it, to be in that part where when you're feeling that love and you're holding on to it, okay, and then you're extending it. I think that nothing is more illuminating than that. I forget the body, I forget my problems, I forget everything, because I see at that moment there's nothing more rewarding and nothing more healing and greater than this. So why would I give into something that is so small and insignificant, again, the ego, as opposed to something that's so grand and wonderful. And we have to apply it, though. That's the trick, and that's the hard part, because what the Course in Miracles says in this lesson, we forget. So it says, forgive yourself your forgetfulness, and just now continue. So that's really what it is. We talk about what's the trick? The trick is to now get out of the throes of anger when you feel it, get out of it, and now get into the place of peace.
Right. To go back to that Course in Miracles quote, we are much too tolerant of mind wandering. We need to focus on the good, the beauty, the joy, and not give any allegiance to the ego. I mean, the lesson 93 is amazing. Light and joy and peace abide in me. And then we are talking about innocence. It says here on the bottom paragraph, your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. We are not sinners. We are sinless. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Over and over, this must be repeated. Oh, this is so good, until it is accepted, So when I think that I have sinned, I am greatly mistaken, because I never did. So I must continue to affirm that I am innocent until I can feel it. And once I can feel it, it's just, I can feel a shift in my perception. Jesus writes, it is true. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Nothing can touch it or change what God created as eternal. The self you made, evil and full of sin, is meaningless. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God, and light and joy and peace abide in you. So to continue to say that until you believe it is just so important, because that is the truth of who we are. Yesterday we were on the boat, and there was this beautiful 10-year-old little girl with us. She was the niece of a friend of mine. And I will say, just being in the presence of a child is so uplifting and transformational, because kids just want to have fun. We get on the boat, and and everybody is just sitting around, and the little cute girl was a little bored, so she wanted to go on a boat ride. It was her first time on a pontoon boat, so my husband helped her to steer the boat, and she was just so happy, to see the beauty and the love and the laughter of a child is just so uplifting. And then after we went for a ride around the river, we went back to the beach and we went out on our tubes. And again, it's like to see the world through the eyes of a child is just so meaningful. And because I'm looking at her and I'm not judging her. I'm focusing on her love, on her laughter, on her innocence. And by focusing on those qualities in someone else, I can feel those qualities within myself. I mean, that's what A Course in Miracles says. When we judge someone else, and it's pretty easy to do, then it kind of lowers our energy. It lowers our state of mind. We are connecting with the fear within ourselves when we judge other people. And then the opposite is also true. When we refrain from judging other people and we see the innocence and the beauty in other people, that's when we feel the innocence and beauty in ourselves. So we always have a choice. And I've also heard it's when anyone is going through a down time in their life, basically to get out and just start, giving to other people can transform your state of mind, because what we focus on in the outside world is what we feel within ourselves. So it was a really, really nice day on the boat. And then we went out and we had some ice cream, and there was a farm there. And I took a couple videos of ducks, and the little girl, Meilani, was just playing on the swings. And it's just, they say the three different things that most people are drawn to that can help you connect with that innocent state of mind are children, animals, and nature. Because those three things, they don't have much of an idea of time. Kids maybe a little bit, but they've let go of time. And for the most part, they just want to have fun. They just want to enjoy, and they're very innocent. So I think it was really great spending all that time with the little beautiful girl, the niece of my friend. And Course in Miracles says, we don't need to be in the presence of children or animals to feel the peace, love, joy, and happiness of God. But it is very important to discipline our mind and focus on who we truly are. And if the ego starts to sneak in, well, the ego is an illusion. The ego is a lie. Just kind of let it go. We don't have to fight with it. We just need to kind of release it and focus on the love. That's why my morning meditations are so important to me, because I focus on the love. And then it sets the foundation for the rest of the day. So when I do feel my mind wandering, I can just be still and know that I am God. I love that. I love that line. I think that's biblical and Course in Miracles. Be still and know that I am God. We have to quiet our mind in order to feel God's presence.
Oh, yeah, Susan, that's great. The fact that it's Course in Miracles and biblical, it really kind of sets the pace when you know that. It seems it's such a holy thing to feel. And we talked about sinlessness, in that lesson where it says sinlessness. My sinlessness is guaranteed by God. I believe that's also one of the lessons. My sinlessness is guaranteed by God. That's an affirmation that the Course in Miracles wants us also to feel, because what could be more healing than knowing that God is guaranteeing your sinlessness, that there's no reason to feel guilty about anything. And one of the biggest problems that we really contend with, I believe, is the guilt that we think we did this, and and then we start to chastise ourselves, and that takes away our peace. And you're right, when we can see the innocence in ourselves, then we can see it in other people as well. Once our innocence is established within our hearts, then that's the go. That we now, the green light to go, to now see that we can extend that, and that our brothers and sisters are all created sinless. If we are, then whatever that our perception is of them, our judgment of them, is now recognized as an illusion, and now we can get back into the innocence, the truth of who we really are. And you're right, kids give us that, because I love talking to kids. They are so heartwarming when they talk, because they are innocent, and they're very giving on what they say, and you have to kind of just enjoy kids a lot when they come into your presence. Yesterday, Pat and I, my boyfriend and I, went for ice cream, and of course the ice cream parlor was full of kids, and I had my dog with me, my dog Rusty, and these kids, can I pet your dog? What's his name? And then one little boy looks up at me and says, "You have a beautiful dog." What could be more heartwarming than that? And I said, "Yes, and you are beautiful too." That exchange was just wonderful. And you talk about animals. You ever watch these on YouTube? I love to watch animals that are different species that are friends. You see that all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love that, right? Do you see that?
Yeah. The different species. Yeah, I know. Like, I'm just trying to think of some of the mixes that I've seen.
Well, one of them I got to tell you about that I love. I'm going to send this one to you. If you can find it, look it up in YouTube. Look up the cat and the tortoise. That's the best.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, this is one where there's a cat, and apparently there's a turtle that's got to be 150 pounds. I mean, this is a big tortoise. And now the tortoise climbs into the cat's bed, and the cat can't get comfortable because the turtle is taking up his whole bed, and he's trying to get comfortable. And he's moving, and he's manipulating his body, and he just can't seem to get comfortable. And you realize that these two are pets, and then the very last frame is they're both kind of looking at each other. And the whole time, the turtle's not recoiling from the cat. It's got its head way out, And so that to me is the most endearing, one of the most endearing, videos that I've seen. And then one other, I'll tell you another one. I saw this live right in front of me. There was this hotel, and there were ducks, and there was a cat hanging out with the ducks. Now, how did that happen? How is it that ducks were not afraid of the cat? The cat was into the ducks, into mingling. And the only thing that I could reason or come to terms with, as far as that was concerned, is that the cat probably belongs to the hotel, and the ducks are always at the hotel. There's a pond there, and they're used to the cat, and they became friends. And I loved it. To me, I wasn't even eating my dinner. I was concentrating on looking at the pond with the cat and the ducks. It can be very awakening, those things that happen, that we see.
That's very cute. Very, very cute. Yeah, I love animals. I mean, when I run around the reservoir, I always see tons of animals, the deer and the turtles and the rabbits, and I've seen a couple bears, but yeah, I just love animals. I mean, my sister, twice a day, she has 2 dogs, and she always has 2 dogs, and she takes her dogs out for a walk, and that's what she does to really connect with her own peace and joy. I was asking her because how she felt about spirituality. It's came up in the conversation the other day. I mean, she knows that I'm an avid Course in Miracles student. I think I bought her the Course in Miracles book quite a few years ago, but she never really got into it. I'm thinking possibly because of the religious terminology. And I asked her what she thought about God and spirituality, and she told me that her and her husband, their God is nature. And I thought, and she is very, very spiritual. My sister is. She loves animals. All this painting that I have behind me, it says love. That's her painting. She has quite a few pieces of artwork that I have like scattered around my room, and they're all very loving and beautiful and deep and profound. And so she might not call her source, her energy source, God, but she's a very loving spiritual person, and she's always drawn to the good in everything. So, I mean, it doesn't matter what we call God. I think whenever we can focus on the beauty in anything, the beauty in nature, the beauty in flowers, the beauty in animals, the beauty in children. I mean, that's how we can source our mind, and we can source our day. It reminds me of this line in the invitation poem by Araya Mountain Dreamer. I want to know, she says, if you can see beauty, even when it's not pretty, and you can source your energy from that place. I might not be quoting her verbatim, but whenever we can source our day from the good, from the beautiful, whenever we can refrain from judging and focus on the innocence in people, it's just such like a high energetic vibration. But again, it takes discipline, because I know how my mind works, and it takes discipline to tap into that energy. But once you kind of connect to it, once you plug yourself into the God socket, then you can kind of feel your day starts to flow more smoothly. You can just wherever you go, into the post office, into the grocery store, into the gym, you could just kind of resonate to the kindness within people, and you stop judging yourself and you stop judging other people. But it's always available to us. It's A Course in Miracles says love. I mean, it opens our mind to the awareness of love's presence, because love is who and what we are. And the only reason we don't feel it all the time is because we block it. So it's about becoming aware of our blocks, becoming aware of our judgment, so we can just let them go and we can reconnect to our innocence. So
Yes.
it's A Course in Miracles. It's not easy, because we're living in the world, and the world is run on the ego. I did, start listening to the news for a few minutes this afternoon. I mean, there's a few interesting stories that are on there, but I've noticed how like the Republicans are bashing the Democrats and vice versa. There's just so much judgment and so much desire to be right and to see the other people as wrong. I mean, that's what people are drawn to. It's all over the place. But just to release that, and to focus on the love, and to focus on the beauty, and to focus on the innocence, once you can tap into that energy and live your life from that, source your day from that place, it's just everything goes so much more smoothly.
That's beautiful, Susan. That really is what you just said. You said it all. You're drawing that part of you that's also, I'm sorry, the part of us that is connected to source. I mean, and we're drawing that, we're pulling that in just by being in that mode. Like you said, your sister her God is nature. Well, yeah, and you know what? You can draw God from nature, because when you're in the stillness, the quietness, looking at the trees and looking at the branches and studying the leaves and even the little crickets that I see every day. They're very prevalent in Florida, and the iguanas and so forth. You know, there's certain beauty there. Really, you get lost in that. You know, I have this big shrub, a green shrub, and there's this green, I don't know what it is. It looks like an iguana, but I don't know if that's what it is. It's the same exact color as the shrub. And it comes out every day, and it's got this long tail. And I study its little paws that it's, and its face. And I say, isn't nature amazing? And at that moment, my mind is stilled when I'm looking at this little creature. I don't even know what to call it, but it's very significant. Nature is very significant, because when we're in the beauty of nature, then we are drawing God from that. And wherever you draw your peace from, it really doesn't matter. It's all the same. It doesn't matter. The Course in Miracles tells you that the Course in Miracles is not the only path to peace, to God, to whatever, to the part of us that we want to connect with. There are other paths to that. The Course in Miracles is just one path, and we've latched onto that. But again, you can find it in other places, and that's a wonderful place to find it if you're fortunate enough to be able to spend time in nature. And you love the boat. This little girl, you said, loved steering the boat, and that was her joy. She was on the water. She was doing something different. She was doing something that, illuminated her, and at the same time, it illuminated you. And that was
and it illuminated my husband, because,
Yeah.
my husband and I were not blessed with our own children. But I know whenever we're around other people's children, I'm so happy, because I just love their innocence and their laughter and their beauty. And my husband, he never had a mentor when he was a young boy. So he really enjoys working with children, and especially mentoring them. Like this little girl had never driven a boat before, and he was guiding her, telling her when to give it a little more gas and how to navigate it to stay away from the sticks that were in the river. But it really gave him a lot of satisfaction to be able to mentor and extend God's love to this little girl. I mean, that's what a miracle is, right? We're extending God's love to one of our brothers. And when we connect to that miraculous exchange of energy, we feel the peace, love, joy, and happiness of God. I mean, that's what my husband was doing. When I'm thinking right now about that time on the boat yesterday, that was a miracle. He was providing joy to this little girl's life. And by extending God's love to her, he felt the love within himself. And then I picked it up, because energy attracts energy. So I picked it up, and I had the little video going, and I was taking a video of them, because that's what they wanted me to do. But it's really beautiful. I mean, you don't have to be on the boat to feel the joy of God, but you do. I think what's really essential, I mean, Course in Miracles says we need each other to get back to heaven. So it's important to take time for ourselves each day to pray and to meditate, but then to go out into the world and to extend that love to our brothers. I think that's essential. We need each other to get back to heaven. We need each other to get home to heaven. So, yeah, so it's all good. It's all really, really good. It's also important to be fully present in the moment, because when we get so distracted and we start thinking about like what we have to do, what we don't have, then we can't hear what God is telling us. I think it's about going about our day, but really being open to God's guidance along the way. And in order to be open to God's guidance, again, we have to focus on the peace, love, joy, and happiness of God. We have to focus on the love. We have to focus on our true nature, so instead of, I don't know, when we're at a stoplight or whatever, instead of just going crazy because the stoplight is taking too long, just to focus on something just positive in our surroundings is the way to keep ourselves plugged into the God socket. Because I can really feel the difference when I'm slowing down and when I'm fully present. It's a completely different energy than when I'm just going crazy and I'm stressed out because I'm going to be late to wherever I'm going. It's two different energy patterns, and we all have access to either one of them. So sometimes either I'll quote the day's lesson, in my mind, and I can feel my energy shift. Again, today is, I am not a body, I am free. And to just really, connect to that statement will plug myself into my God socket so I can feel the peace and truth with a capital T of who I really am.
Yeah, you just said something, two energy patterns. When you think about that, yes, that was very well said. There are two energy patterns, because it's easy to see it that way when you term it in that way. Two separate energy patterns. Where would you rather be? We have to recognize when we're not in the energy pattern that gives us peace, the part of us that we have to nurture, because that is the part we want to exercise, that part of us, to become more aware that part of us exists. Then it's easier to get out of the first thought pattern that doesn't provide us the peace. Like you just used an example, sitting at a light. I'm not going to be more, sometimes, I want to grab from my phone and start texting, but I don't do that. But, you're tempted, because impatience is definitely of the ego. Patience is a virtue, right? It's a term. And used to use that. It is a virtue. People that are patient are wonderful, right? Look how
I remember Marianne Williamson had this quote that I always remember: the reward of patience is patience. So
yeah,
I thought that was an interesting quote. The reward of patience is patient. We become patient. We become peaceful. We become, that's how we feel our innocence, which is essential. And on that note, Myrna, it is exactly 4:00. So I will end with the introduction of A Course in Miracles. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And what that means is the only thing that's real is the love. Thank God for that. I love you so much. Thank you for being here with me today. And thank you, everyone, for being with us as well.
beautiful.
Thank you so much, Myrna and Susan. It's so good to see you. And I look forward to seeing you again on Myrna tomorrow, Friday with Susan. And then hopefully tonight you'll all be coming to our Freedom of Forgiveness with Amy Anderson. So looking forward to that. And then tomorrow night, I'll be doing a talk on healing, health and healing. So look forward to that as well.